Good morning and welcome to today's press briefing. I'm Frederick County Executive Jan Gardner, and I'm really very excited today to be here to launch a new and different approach to planning for our future. And we're calling this initiative Livable Frederick, and you can see the logo that we have up on our screen. And of course, we're calling it Livable Frederick because that's our collective goal as a community, to ensure that Frederick County is a great place to live, to work, to raise a family, and a great place for all of us to call home. Livable Frederick will be a robust public process to envision what we want our community to look like in 10 years and in 25 years. We know our demographics are shifting. We have a booming, growing senior population that's projected to grow twice as fast as the state of Maryland in the United States. And at the same time, we know our economic prosperity depends on keeping and attracting our young people who want to live in a hip and walkable community close to jobs and with fun things to do. So who's going to live here? How will people want to live? What will they value? And how can we ensure that we will have a sustainable community with a prosperous and resilient economy? These are some of the questions that we're going to ask during our comprehensive plan. This is really what we should consider. How do we want Frederick County to look in the future? So this process is about shaping our future, and we're going to do this in a different manner than we've ever done a comprehensive plan before. It's going to be a new dynamic approach to long-range planning so that we have a sustainable, high quality of life for residents, the people who live here, and our businesses. This process will be policy-driven. It will be vision-driven. It'll be very different from past comprehensive plans that serve primarily as a technical tool to allocate future land use and infrastructure to accommodate projected population growth. Instead, this process will use economic forecasts, demographic information, and scenario testing tools to assess where the county is now and what choices we make in the future to be a livable and resilient community. We want to shape our future, but we want to test that future under a variety of scenarios, and we're going to be able to do that in this process. So, we'll test things related to where people want to live, how they want to live, what the jobs might be like, how people will get around. So the plan can be flexible and resilient over time, because as much as we try to predict the future, we know that's really not something we can actually do. Unlike earlier comprehensive planning efforts that were driven by zoning requests, this process will be driven by vision and by focusing on what our future will be like. The outcome will be a comprehensive plan and a comprehensive plan map that incorporate that vision and make sure that Livable Frederick is our future. So I do want to have a transparent process. I certainly ran on open and transparent government. So this plan will have a truly robust public outreach process that will span the entire time frame of the process, which we expect to take about 2 years or 24 months. Not only will there be lots of public outreach meetings around the county and meetings with various stakeholder groups and organizations, there's going to be a social media effort that'll include multiple online surveys, and we're going to promote public participation through that online outreach, and we're going to collect information about how residents would like to see the future of our community. As with many of the other initiatives I've kicked off over the last few months, I will appoint a 12-member steering committee to help bring a variety of perspectives, ideas, creativity, and input into the process. This steering committee will meet as needed from time to time to advise, review technical reports, develop plan elements, goals, policies, and action recommendations. And for the first time, we'll develop a plan that has performance measures and metrics so we can actually track how we're doing over time. So I think that's pretty exciting. So the focus will be on creating an economically vibrant and healthy community where people want to live. Enhancing accessibility or our transportation options, so there's various ways to get around the community. Ensuring sustainable businesses and economic growth that provides a diversity of jobs, and that's how you have a resilient economy. And we want to plan for housing options for people of all income levels and for all lifestyles. Some people want to live urban, some people want to live suburban, and so we have to accommodate all of these things in our future. And we live in a community that values our history. You know, one of the things we found out when we did our slogan campaign was that people really love the history of our community. They value our cultural and social amenities. They value our longstanding agricultural economy. So we want to plan a future that preserves those things that we love and preserves agriculture for the future. So to grow well, we have to focus on our core principles, and I've listed a few here. Obviously, jobs is important to everybody. We don't want to be just a vibrant bedroom community. We want people to be able to live and work here. So we know a livable community that ensures a high quality of life and a great place to live. Also includes quality amenities like parks and libraries, restaurants, shopping, and vibrant downtowns. And we have to have great schools. Great schools is good business, and it builds a strong community. And maybe most important, a livable Frederick is a place with a strong sense of community and belonging. So we really want to build community through this process. So this plan is about creating a vision for the future. You know, what are the trends and external forces that are going to shape our future? Who's going to want to live here? What will people value? How will they want to live? How will people seek work? And it's going to be very different. A lot of people are going to be working in less space, working on technology and computers. It's really very different. When I talk to people who are the next generation, you know, they really have a different expectation of what they want out of their life than what my generation had. So we need to make sure we plan for prosperity. So I just wanted to go through a couple of examples of what we're going to have to consider. And these are just examples, a little tidbit of some of the trends and things that are happening. So we know that one of the trends in the country is that we're having this rapidly growing aging cohort of age 65 and over. But in Frederick County, because of how we've grown over the past 50 years, this is going to be a much bigger growing age group in Frederick, twice as fast as the state, twice as fast as the nation. And so we know that this rapidly growing aging cohort will radically change our economy. It's really going to affect everything. There's going to be fewer households out there in their peak earning and spending years. It's going to affect how consumer spending happens in our economy. It's going to demand different housing, and it's going to demand different amenities, different transportation options. That aging population is going to demand different things, and we have to consider all of these things and plan for them. For instance, if you look at the housing dynamic, you know, people age 35 to 44 traditionally have been in that age group where you have the peak buying up or home buying age. And in the 60s, it's the peak downsizing years. So if we have a larger aging population, we're going to have a smaller ratio of trade up to downsized buyers. So our housing dynamic is going to change a little bit, and we have to incorporate that. So I think this gives us a lot of opportunities and challenges. So we kind of have to do that SWOT analysis. We want to make sure we attract and keep our affluent aging population. We want to be multi-generational, and of course we have to keep that younger generation here and attract even more. So what will that younger generation demand? They want to live near where they work. I mean, I talk to people in the younger age group, they don't want to commute. They think their parents were crazy to spend so much time commuting down the road. They just don't want to do it, and they're not going to do it. They want a vibrant nightlife. They want to be involved in the community. You know, sometimes we think younger people don't want to be involved in the community, but they have a real strong sense of wanting to be in a community, and they really want to have fun on the weekends or in the evenings. I think they're a very social group. Of course, that may change over time as they age up too. So planning must respond to these demographic changes, and there's certainly more. These were just a couple of obvious examples. Prosperous communities must accommodate this population change and all the social and economic changes that are out there. Zone it and they will come is not really a model that will work any longer. So how are we going to go about this? So here's the basic timetable on one slide. We're going to kick it off here in the fall of 2015, and really we're going to spend a lot of the fall in planning prep, putting the background together for what kind of data we want to collect. We're going to have this robust public outreach process starting, soon, all the way through the entire process. And, we're going to evaluate strengths and weaknesses, do a transportation study, look at demographics, sustainability, energy, all kinds of things. And The Planning Commission will draft the first plan, and they'll review it and make recommendations, and then it will go to the council for final review and adoption. So this slide shows a Gantt chart of all the different phases. There are 7 of them, and they're all overlapping. And you can see phase 2 is that public outreach and public participation phase, and it really covers everything. And certainly we can provide this to people so you can get a better look at it. So my role as the county executive is to kick off this comprehensive planning process, to direct staff to prepare all the background reports and data collection, to support that public outreach effort, and to maximize our use of social media and online surveys. The Planning Commission, and this is kind of really how it's defined in state law, is responsible for generating the initial plan after they have their own public outreach process and consider all the information, data, trends that we collect at the beginning of the process. It really is foundational. And ultimately, the County Council will review the plan that's sent to them by the Planning Commission, consider all its elements and policies, and finalize and adopt the comprehensive plan text and the comprehensive plan map. And we're really only going to consider zoning requests after all of that is over. So I'm going to go through really quick this 7 slides with what we're doing in each phase. The first phase is the kickoff, refining the scope, doing the background studies, getting the website up, and briefing the County Council, the Planning Commission, and municipal leaders. Staff did brief the County Council President and Vice President yesterday. We've provided the Council with a staff report on this, and they'll be briefed individually. And there's a County Council piece in all 7 segments of this. Phase 2 is really launching that big public outreach process, putting out those countywide surveys. We look to do at least 5 online surveys, initiate meetings with organizations, and hold public meetings around the county. And again, the council and the Planning Commission will be part of this every phase. Phase 3, we're going to collect and analyze the data, conduct a multimodal accessibility analysis, which is kind of a fancy word for transportation modeling, but it will be more than just roads and highways. And we'll complete reports that will be completed. A couple examples of them are transportation land use analysis, a cost of community services study that we haven't done since the 90s, residential and commercial needs analysis, county municipal issues and opportunities report. Just a few examples. The next phase is to review all these studies, issues, and scenarios, publish the survey results, create a county livability issues and opportunities report, and the countywide vision. And again, briefings with municipal leaders, the Planning Commission, County Council, and others. The next phase is preparing the draft plan, and this is the draft comprehensive plan text and map, which will include those performance measures I talked about earlier. And the Planning Commission will have workshops, and we'll also complete some things that are required by state law, like the water resource element and the Tier 4 maps. Then the Planning Commission will consider their recommended plan. They'll hold their public hearings. They'll finalize and approve their plan to send to the County Council, and there'll be a sustainability assessment of the plan. And the final phase is the County Council review and plan adoption. They'll hold work sessions, review the plan elements, policies, performance measures, the studies, but they'll have had updates on this all the way through, so it's not like this is just the first time they see it. They'll conduct their own public hearings, and then they'll adopt Livable Frederick, comprehensive plan, and the comprehensive plan map. So today, we're launching Livable Frederick. I'm going to appoint and announce a citizen-based steering committee today to provide input and insight during the process. And, you know, I really wanted to get people involved that are big thinkers because, you know, while you want diverse perspectives and areas, they all have to work together. They all have to fit, the pieces all have to fit together. So I really wanted some people who could, you know, represent all geographic areas of the county, all age groups, representatives from the municipalities, ex officio member from the county council, business, agriculture, real estate and development, community leaders, and housing. And I will tell you, I've put people on this committee who agree with me and people on this committee who disagree with me because I actually want that debate and that balance of perspectives. So this group will meet as needed, maybe once a month, maybe twice a month, maybe sometimes they'll skip a month, to provide input, advice, ideas, and creativity. This is a team of big thinkers. again, who know how all the pieces fit together, how we connect people, jobs, places, sustainability, accessibility. And this is a fluid process that will evolve over time. So you can see that the Gantt chart shows overlapping. Some things may happen sooner, some things may happen later, some study may lead you to do something else. So it's not something that is set in stone. And really important to me is that it will have a strong public engagement process. The point person on this county staff who will be doing what I have up here is all the analytics and background studies, issues and trends, demographics, all the rest of it, is David Whitaker, who will, of course, work under the direction of our division director, Steve Horn. And both of them bring a wealth of experience. Certainly Dave, who is the point person, has worked in local government planning. He's worked in statewide planning. He's been a transportation planner. One of the great things is he's done a lot of grant work. We've already applied for a technical assistance grant. And so we're going to be able to leverage resources of others. And he knows how to bring all the pieces together. I think he's a planning guru, and no offense, but I think you're a planning geek. So, and I say that with all love and respect. So he laid out the timetable and framed out the studies and steps that I've just presented. And this process does follow some guidelines from the APA, the America's Planners Association, for creating sustainable communities. So the County Council will ultimately have the final say on what this plan looks like. So, Livable Frederick, it's time to plan differently because our future depends on it. Before I introduce everybody from my steering committee, and I have to find the list of names here buried under my stuff, I do want to say that some people have said, why are we initiating a comprehensive plan now? We had a comprehensive plan update from 2008 to 2010, the 2010 plan. We had a plan of sorts in 2012. But the plan in 2012 was really an update of zoning and the zoning maps. There was no change to the comprehensive plan, to the comprehensive text. And the outcome of that is we did kind of half a process. So we had a lot of conversation about, should we just finish the other half of the process? I mean, the last prior administration talked about it, but never got around to it. But it seemed that it made much more sense to go back and do a comprehensive plan in a comprehensive way that considered everything that should go into it. And it will bring everything back in sync. It will address some of the conflicts that exist right now between our zoning maps and our comprehensive plan. And it's caused confusion. We get water and sewer amendments back from the state recently, and they said it's consistent with the 2010 plan. And some people will say, well, we don't have one anymore. It was the 2012 plan. But because you can't find in the 12 plan what you need from the 10 plan, you have to go back to the 10 plan. So we really have to have one plan. We can't really have these two different plans out there. So I really want to have one unified approach, one comprehensive plan. I want it to be a resilient plan so that we aren't doing this again for another 10 years or longer. We want to make this flexible and resilient so as demographics change, as other things we don't anticipate change, we can adjust and mend and mold into that. So I think having the ability to do these little scenario tests is really going to be cool. I think having the performance measures is going to be a great way to hold this plan accountable. And so I'm really excited about it. So I do want to announce the members of the steering committee. Some of them are there. If you're here, I welcome you to come up and join me. We have Jim Racheff. He's a member of our business community. He has agreed to be the chair of this steering committee, for which I'm greatly appreciate. I can't tell you how much time and support that I've had from Jim on other topics, and I really appreciate him bringing his experience to the table here. Richard Grossnickel, who's not here today, has agreed to represent the agricultural community. Jay Mason, who's also not here, he represents the real estate community, but he also represents education. He is the current chair of Eliminate the Achievement Gap. EAG's been very involved in our schools. Barry Weller, who's been in real estate and development. Bob White, who's here, who's a representative of our Planning Commission. Shannon Moore, who many of you know, she is a member of our staff, and she's our sustainability guru, and she's going to bring that sustainability perspective, and certainly Shannon's known as being a big thinker. Peter Vorak, who lives in Jefferson, he does run a farm. He's been involved in planning in the past. He's been involved in small area plannings and in the Brunswick region plan, so he has experience. Dana French, who is brings a lot of organizational background and is a well-known community representative. Karen Tome will be our municipal representative. She is the mayor of the city of Brunswick. Mary Kate Battles, who is here. She is a small business owner. She's a photographer. I look to her to bring some perspective of our younger generation and to really bring some creativity and ideas. So she's a small business owner and is really actively involved in the community, and I appreciate her participation in this. Scott Minton, who has extensive background in housing, workforce housing, affordable housing, all kinds of housing needs. Mark Lancaster, who will represent our building industry. He is, been in not only in the building industry, but he is also has a lot of background in, he builds green homes. He's a lot of background in sustainability. I think he's been part of our sustainability commission. He was the chair, and he's also been involved with the Affordable Housing Council. So he's a lot of background in affordable housing and workforce housing. So I appreciate him being involved because I do think, again, he's another one of the big thinkers, and we're going to have big thinkers here. And then MC Keegan-Air is going to be our ex officio liaison from the county council. So we appreciate her involvement. So at this point, I want to ask Jim if he wants to say a few words.
Thank you, County Executive Gardner. I thought that I was the one who was supposed to represent the youth vote here. So I'm a little surprised to see Mary Kate here, but in seriousness, I've been probably involved in some ways in growth and development and planning since probably going back to the early 80s, so about 30 years now. And when the county executive called me about this particular project, I thought that this was really an opportunity to do something in a different way than we have over the last 30, 40 years. Often, as she's mentioned, we've had sort of these predetermined assumptions and decisions, and then we've tried to build a plan that kind of justifies what some of those decisions have been. And in this case, taking this holistic approach that where we're going to reach out both to the public, to numerous stakeholders, and build a vision and allow that vision to inform our policy and our plans going forward, I think is a fantastic opportunity for the county. We probably haven't been in a position to do this previously. We now have quantitative tools and data and modeling tools available to us that we haven't had in the past. We also have, 5 or 6 years of pretty strong growth in the county under our belts to look back on and see the things that we thought worked really well and the things that haven't. And now we're also seeing these regional and really global trends, both with our demographics and our population and our change of our economy. Work is very, very different than it was 10, 20 years ago, and 20 years from now, I'm not sure that we're going to recognize it. So I think that we've got sort of a perfect opportunity, maybe not a perfect storm, here to try something that we haven't tried before and maybe build a vision that's going to help inform us for the next decade or so. I know that I'm very excited to be working with David Whitaker. He said, hey, can I sit down and talk to you for about 25 minutes about this? I think 3.5 hours later, David was still enthusiastically going through all the tools and approaches and standards and guidelines that we have. And as County Executive Gardner mentioned, I know that the couple times that I've helped her in the past, she assembles fantastic teams of highly qualified people of diverse viewpoints. It's not only very productive, but good fun to work with these folks. The nice part for me is that I don't have to do any thinking or decision making. I'm here for the comic relief, and these guys do all the work. So I'm looking forward to it. I think it's eminently important, and I really thank you for the opportunity to be involved.
Well, I thank you and everyone else for their willingness to volunteer and dedicate time to this effort. And I will just clue you in, when you say I've been doing this for 30 years, that kind of keeps you out of that younger generation perspective. I know that from experience because I say I've done certain things for 30 years as well. I do want to ask David Whitaker, who's going to be the staff point person on this, if he'd like to say a few words. And we are going to keep you to less than 3.5 hours.
I want to thank you, County Executive Gardner. This is actually a really vital process, and I should tell you, and I'm going to try to be brief, and Bob will keep me to this. I came into Frederick County initially in 1985. The comprehensive plan had been adopted in 1984, and we were really basically that was one of several comprehensive plans that had gone through. What struck me at the time, which it is 30 years later, I still hold, there was something called the community concept. And when we worked with other state agencies and things like that, we tried to promote this community concept throughout the state of Maryland. I mean, it's an extraordinary set of ideas that came out of this many years ago. But I want to actually let you know one thing in particular. Anybody, Bob, other people know this very well, but the county's population in 1970 was 84,927 persons. It is forecasted in 2040 to be 334,100, give or take 1,000 or more. But what I'm trying to say here is that's a fourfold or nearly a fourfold growth in population. If the county is going to sustain, the county is going to do well, it's going to have to look at these communities and achieve consensus on a whole range of issues that we never looked at before. And I want to thank you for the opportunity to even try my hand at this. So, thanks.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. I do want to acknowledge that our Livable Frederick logo was done by Cheryl Dapsowski, who's here in the front. We thank you for your contribution to that. We do have a webpage up, livablefrederick.org, a Facebook page, and a Twitter page. And so we will be having all kinds of ways for you to follow us, and we'll put this presentation up as our kickoff. But as the steering committee moves forward and as the reports become available, you'll be able to find them all here. And we'll put up all the meetings that we can on this page. Obviously, we aren't going to be able to have live recorded video meetings of all of our meetings around the county, but we'll have some, and we will want to share that with people. We really want people to be engaged, to participate. The fact that you're going to be able to do that online really should help bring a lot more people in. Some people want to come to public meetings and community meetings, and some people feel more comfortable, but everybody will have an easy way to be involved and participate. I think it's going to be a great process, so I want to thank you all for being here today. I want to thank you all for your time commitment to this. I'm really excited about it. And again, my role is to kick it off, and it's the community's role to move it forward, and the county council's role to bring it to a conclusion in a couple of years. So we want to have a comprehensive plan that will stand the test of time. And so that's what we're trying to do, and make sure we have a livable Frederick for everybody in our community. So with that, I'll adjourn, and we'll take questions from the media afterwards. Thank you.